Well, I want to welcome you to our program today. Our special guest is Hanna Brehm. And so, Hanna, I want to welcome you to our program this day.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Hanna is the Executive Director of the Dubuque County Right to Life. And so there is a big event that's coming up. It's Sunday, October 1st, and it's going to be from 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it is, well, they call it a life chain event. And this will be held in 2 locations. One location will be Dubuque on the corner of Bluff Street and Dodge Avenue on Highway 20, and the other will be on Highway 136 in Dyersville at 9th Street, and that'll be right in front of Beckman High School. Okay, well, being the Executive Director of the Dubuque County Right to Life, how long have you been the Director of the Dubuque County Right to Life?
I officially started in January, so...
Officially started in January,
Yep.
so you've kind of been working at this now for, well, not quite a year, but a few months under your belt in a way.
Yeah.
And so how's it been going?
It's been good. I've learned a lot, and I've grown a lot in this, but I have a lot of great helpers who have been there to support me, so it's been good.
Yeah, well, how important it is, the Dubuque County Right to Life. And here, what would you say would be, well, when we hear right to life, we sometimes get a lot of things come to our minds, but when you think about Dubuque County Right to Life, what would be kind of its main mission, and what would be some of its main points of emphasis to say that? Because people may, the Dubuque County Right for Life, wondering, well, what is that? Or sometimes we can just kind of make we can formulate in our own minds what that is. But let's hear from you, the director.
Yeah. So we're an educational organization, so we focus a lot on bringing in speakers and just educating the public on specifically abortion, infanticide, and euthanasia. So those are the main things that we focus on. We're supportive of all life from conception till natural death, but those are just the 3 things that we focus on.
The 3 main emphasis would be abortion, infanticide, and euthanasia.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so obviously that you have a strong focus on the importance of the sanctity of life from conception all the way until natural death. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just that you're dealing with abortion, but you are focused in on making sure that the sanctity of life, the dignity of life, is something that is held throughout a person's whole life. And so Right to Life would be very concerned about the unborn, mm-hmm. but also being very concerned about the justice and well-being and the health of all people.
Yeah, especially the vulnerable and the weakest of our world. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, Hanna, that you mentioned is education. Mm-hmm. How important it is to be educated and how important it is to be informed. Mm-hmm. So that when we make decisions, that we understand exactly what it is that we are doing. Because, we hate to make a major decision in life and say, I guess I didn't look at all of the facts about it. And so as you are working with people, when it comes to the facts of what because obviously you feel very strongly about pro-life, that you obviously understand what it is that you believe and what you think.
Yeah.
And so maybe one of the things today would be, somebody may say, well, I don't always know why there's such a fight about, why pro-life and what's the big deal about abortion? I mean, isn't it just a bunch of a mass of cells that's being taken here? Or, so what's the big deal here? Why do we make such an issue out of this?
Yeah, because a new life is formed from the moment of conception. It is a bunch of cells, but you are a bunch of cells and I am a bunch of cells
That's
right
true.
now, so it's just at an earlier stage than we are. So from the moment that a sperm and an egg unite, it's a new being. It has its own DNA, its own the hair color is set, and from that moment on, it will become, it is becoming a fully developed human being. And so they can't speak for themselves, so it's our duty to stand up for them and protect them from that moment on.
So are you seeing more and more that the scientific world is understanding that this God-given life is really life right from the very conception?
Yeah, I mean, the embryology textbooks in schools, they say that a human being is made from that moment on. They will, people say, well, it's just a fetus, but a fetus is just another stage of development, the same as toddler or teenager is. So, yeah, science does support that. And I think that's why the pro-abortion side, it kind of focuses on the woman's choice, because they science says that this is a new human being, so they're gonna take the emphasis away from that and more on, well, a woman should be able to choose. So.
Yeah, well, obviously there are those who are pro-choice, and I'm not trying to say that they're all naive or that they haven't been educated and informed. So when a mother is making this what I would think would be this huge, painful decision, and when we think about pro-life and the sanctity of life, and that this would be basically a pretty easy decision to make, but yet for somebody who's pro-choice, there's probably a lot of other factors that go into making this very painful decision, and so I don't know what would be some of those. And I realize you're not here to advocate pro-choice, but what would be some of the arguments for that? Yeah,
for sure. There are a lot of fears that are, a lot of times during unplanned pregnancies. A lot of times they're young or they're unmarried. They're still in school. They are no longer with the father, and so there are any number of reasons that fears that are there that could cause somebody to say, well, let's just get rid of the problem and then it'll be like nothing happened. But we know that that's not how it works. This is a major thing, and it does deeply affect all those involved. So yeah, and it's important to remember that, because they're not, people who are pro-choice, they think that they're doing the right thing. They want to help women as well. We're both trying to help women and children, and to have the best outcome. We just, I think we arrive at different conclusions on how we get to that point. So.
And so when you look at what you're saying here, is that you are basically describing a lot of people who are concerned. It's not like you got good versus evil from the standpoint that people are coming to this conclusion based on concern for an individual, for a young mother, for instance, or a young gal, where this may not have been a planned pregnancy, and right now it has disrupted life, and right now the easiest thing would be to go out and have an abortion. But how about what are some of the options to say, okay, yeah, we can see that maybe God's plan for life here isn't necessarily your plan and the way that you want to go with your life. So what would be some of the, an option, to think about, like with a mother, to say, well, as easy as it would be just to get an abortion right now, maybe in my heart is speaking something else that, and so when a mother's heart is speaking something else, to say, well, right now this just isn't a good time to have a child, but yet this is a child within me, and I understand that, and so what are, trying to make what would be a decision that one would not regret, as they go forward in life. What would be some options there?
Yeah, so the first is that there are a lot of places that are willing to help people through these unplanned pregnancies. Clarity Clinic has a lot of resources for women, ultrasounds and different things like that they're willing to help them through and to support them in these unplanned situations, you know. And another would be adoption, you know, because we know that this is a life, and so even though there are a lot of fears and there are, you know, many outside circumstances affecting the situation, it still is a life, and so yeah, giving that life a chance to live, and then also there are a lot of people that are unable to conceive and are waiting to adopt children, and so so adoption is always another great option. So.
There's so many couples, you know, parents who want to adopt children, and what a blessed thing that is when they can adopt a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Hannah, this is very interesting, and one of the points that she certainly has emphasized is the importance of education, that people, you know, understand, you know, the stages of life, and that the child, you know, for instance, within a mother's womb is a human, a gift from God. And so now she is here talking about this life chain event. Okay, so called a life chain event. And as I mentioned right at the beginning, that this is going to be happening on Sunday, October 1st, between 2 and 3. The locations are in Dubuque on Highway 20, on the corner of Bluff Street and Dodge Avenue, and then in Dyersville on Highway 136 at 9th Street in front of Beckman High School. Okay, so you got this event that is coming up in 2 locations. And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to encourage you to go out and not so much to support Hannah as it is that you are being a voice for the unborn. I mean, today we hear about so many, you know, people that are crying out. They're being a voice. If it's not for themselves, for somebody else. But you know, these little unborn, you know, the unborn children, they can't march and they don't have a voice. And so that's why we got to be out there, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not just to say, well, we don't want Hannah to be out there standing by herself. It's more, no, we all need to be out there to show our support, to be that voice for the unborn. Now, is this the first time that you've done something like this?
No, so the Life Chain has been going on for 30 years. It started originally in California and kind of spread throughout the country. So we've been doing it here in Dubuque for quite some time as well. So yeah, I've been there. Well, I was out of the state for a while, but last year I was there, and growing up, my family always came and supported this. So yeah, it's a fun event, you know, just to be there and to pray, and to be a witness, like you said, to be a witness for these unborn children, and to say that, you know, we're praying for anyone who is in an unplanned pregnancy or who has gone through one, and we're here to help you if you need it, or and that there is hope. So.
Yeah. So it sounds to me, Hannah, just what you said is that you're here to be an advocate for the unborn, but you're also here to be an advocate for the mother and possibly the father. You know, that you do care for not just the baby, but also for mother, that you're encouraging, you know, both here, and encouraging society. Okay, so now if people are saying, oh yeah, I think I want to go out there, I'm going to check this out, and I want to be part of this, I'm always trying to figure out a way, how can I support the unborn? And so this is maybe one way that I can do this. What should people expect in something like this?
Yeah.
So like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, so we have a table and we have a bunch of different signs there. So you can come and pick up a sign, and then we just line up along Highway 20 there and stand and pray for people. Sometimes people will do different prayers together, or sing songs, or just chat. And but it's very prayerful time. So a lot of the signs are very hopeful. You know, there's hope. This is a life. Jesus loves you. You know, different things like that. And yeah, it's pretty calm, peaceful time. That we do have a lot of people who wave as they drive past, and you know, or honk, and you know, are very supportive, but there are some who are maybe a little less supportive and give us the one finger wave and different things like that. Sometimes they'll yell, but which it is discouraging. You hear that and you just pray harder because we know that we have the truth on our side, that this is a human life and all lives need to be protected and helped from this time on. So yeah.
Yeah, so that you get kind of, for the most part, it sounds like you get a favorable response, but once in a while you get some people who are not showing a favorable response, but that kind of shows where society is at, that we're not always in 100% agreement when it comes to anything.
Yeah.
But one of the things that Hanna really has emphasized is that we're out there, but we're really praying, and that's one of the things that I think is so important is the power of prayer working in a situation. And like in the Bible, we're always hearing, well, the leader prayed, and I can think about a lot of different leaders, but I always think about Gideon and how he had his small little army, but yet he was able to defeat the Midians, but he was so much into prayer, knowing that God was with them. And I sometimes think that's maybe how the unborn, well, we are the weak, we have no voice, we can't walk, we can't do anything, and so here we have these people and God who's on who's with us and in the prayers, and so we hopefully, even if we can try to encourage, even if one person's encouraged by this, to say. And another thing that Hanna has emphasized is that when it comes to right to life, it's not just the unborn, but it's all people all the way through their lives. And so they're concerned about everybody. And I always kind of think about, and you already mentioned the Clarity Clinic, but I think about, somebody who's, says, well, yeah, because I've talked to people like this where I've had an abortion and I feel really bad about it. And so it's not like we want to go and clunk them on the head with the guilt hammer again. It's more, that the people who are right to life and pro-life, that they're also very concerned about people, and that for women who've had abortions, that they're here for them, to say, well, we are here to love you and to give you counsel and things like that as well, because we're trying to show the love, not not to divide up, have a divide saying, well, it's we're somehow these people versus these people, but we want to be God's people together.
All together, yeah. And there is a lot of women who are in pain from an abortion, and they don't feel that they can talk to anyone about it, and we don't want people to sit with that pain. We want to help them in any way, and like you said, Clarity Clinic does have counselors there who are willing to to help people to go through that, and there are different retreats throughout the area just specifically for post-abortive women. Project Rachel is a really great one that helps, and there are also some for men as well, because while they maybe didn't go through the surgery themselves, they still sometimes feel that guilt as well. Yeah.
Okay, well, we got this Life Chain event coming up on October 1st, but I'm sure there's other educational opportunities that you provide throughout the year. And so, as you kind of look as we look at the year, and as far as what the Dubuque County Right to Life is doing, what are some other emphasis? What are maybe some other life chain events that you are doing throughout the year that people need to be aware of, to say, oh, I didn't realize that was going on, and this is very interesting. So what would be some of these other things?
Yeah. So we have quite a bit coming up in October. It's Respect a Life Month, so we kind of do a couple extra things. We start with, we're having a movie. It's called Voiceless, and that will be shown the first Thursday of the month, and that will be at Mindframe Theater at 7 o'clock. It's free, so anyone who wants to come can come. So I'm excited about that. And then we bring in a speaker. This year our speaker is David Cordero. He works with Students for Life of America, really training the students that are specifically in college, to speak on life issues and to share their pro-life views their fellow students. So he's going to come in and talk at a couple of the local schools on activism and the importance of being active and being a voice in the pro-life movement. So we also do different things like Share Your Family Day and Silent Day for Solidarity. So that one is a fun one. It's kind of being the opposite of being a voice, so you remain silent all day because that's what the unborn aren't able to say anything. So we're standing in solidarity with them, and then we have little cards kind of explaining why we remain silent. So that is a fun one as well. So we have membership meetings throughout the year, once a month, where we bring in different speakers on different subjects, again, from euthanasia to birth control to all sorts of different topics. And so those are always very informative. We have we bring 5 buses to the March for Life, the National March for Life in Washington, D.C. So that's always a fun event, again, to stand in unity with all of our brothers and sisters who are pro-life, and it's just really encouraging to see so many people there, and to know that we're not alone in this fight. So, yeah.
Well, it sounds like you do quite a bit throughout the year then, and you are educating and bringing awareness to people, and here again, everything that I am picking up from Hanna and my understanding of all of this is that they go about their work in a very loving, in a peaceful way, and it's not like they're trying to have we versus them kind of a thing, but trying to get everybody to come together and to celebrate life. And as Hanna has already emphasized, is that right to life is, it's concerned about the unborn, but concerned about all the stages of life. And you had mentioned at the beginning, about, you're concerned about abortion, but then also infanticide. What's that all about?
Yeah, so it's not legal here in the United States, but there are some people, scholars, who advocate for that we should be able to kill children. Some of them say up to 2 years after they're born because they haven't really contributed anything. So maybe we need that grace period to decide if they're worth living or not. So there are some people who advocate for that, and thankfully it's not legal here, but the fact that people are pushing for that is a little scary. Yeah,
that is. And I think a lot of what I'm picking up is that it has to do with value. Where do we get our values? Who is a valuable person? Who is a worthwhile person? And sometimes we judge that by fame, fortune, power, whereas, how much are we producing? Whereas for God, He loves us for being His children.
Yeah,
that's the value, and to bring that out in people. Okay, but then you also talk a little bit, or mention about euthanasia. That has to do with, I guess, end-of-life issues.
Yeah. So there are different groups that have been pushing. There's been different legislation here in Iowa the past couple of years advocating for what they call death with dignity, which is actually just assisted suicide. So basically, once it gets to the end of life, that we should be able to choose if we want to kill ourselves or not, I guess, is what they're saying. And so then we see that it's been legalized in a couple of different places already. And so we're just trying to stay ahead of that, as well as educating on that subject, that everybody's life has dignity and worth, whether they're producing something or not. Just by being a child of God, we have worth. And so
As far as the Dubuque County Right to Life, you'd mentioned some of the things, obviously, what's coming up here on October 1st, but then there's other events that are going to be coming up, and people are saying, I'd like to maybe get involved with that, go to it, get my, a church group or some civic organization, whatever the group may be, to say we'd like to be about that. And so it's all on like a website that they can go to get more information, just as far as what all it is that you're emphasizing, as far as what you're doing, events that are coming up, is that, the best place to go would be to like your website?
We do have a lot of information on our website. It's dcrtl.org.
And we'll have that up on the screen.
Okay, great. And then, but also we do a monthly newsletter, and that is very informative on current events in what's going on in Iowa and in the nation as a whole. And so you can sign up for that. That's free, or call the office, and we'll get you that sent out to you. But those are all online as well, so you can find them.
Yeah, so online, the newsletter, call the office. And so now you're the executive director, but I imagine that you're looking for volunteers and people to fit into this. And so, you know, somebody says, well, I'd like to become more involved. I'd like to become part of the Dubuque County Right to Life. What kind of things would you maybe need for people to be doing right now?
So we have members, so people can become members, and then those fees go towards all of our activities, all of our speakers that we bring in, and the different things throughout the year. But we do have people come in, volunteer to staff different booths at the Dubuque County Fair, or different booths throughout the year. We have a speakers bureau if people are interested in becoming speakers and going out. That's always a good way to get involved. And then there are many opportunities throughout the year with helping with lifesavers, or we do Mother's Day roses on Mother's Day, and different things like that. So, yeah.
So it sounds like there are need for volunteers, and so if you'd like to volunteer for the Dubuque County Right to Life, we certainly encourage you to do that. Once again, you can call their office or go online and get connected to what they are doing. And probably you also need some financial support here and there as well. So if nothing else, you can always and Hannah didn't come on the show for me to say that, but I'm guessing that if they're like any other organization, they probably could always use a spare nickel here and there. And so this has been Hanna Brehm. She is the Executive Director of Dubuque County Right to Life. And like we mentioned, they got a very big event coming up in Dubuque and Dyersville on October 1st, where they're having a life chain event. And so in Dubuque, it'll be on Highway 20 between Bluff Street and Dodge Avenue, and then also in Dyersville on Highway 136 at 9th Street at Beckham High School. So I hope that you can come out and join this very important event. And so, Hannah, thank you so much for coming on our program this day, and God bless all of you.